The Halo TV show was so terrible, even the co-creator of Halo said that it wasn't what he created and he was confused with the choices they made. Fans roasted this show for being an even larger bait and switch than Kevin Smith's Masters of the Universe because, spoiler alert, they said they weren't pushing Master Chief to the side and then decided to kill him off. And Paramount just announced this terrible show is getting a second season. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month or support the channel via YouTube membership. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. Now, you guys know I love Halo in general. It is a fantastic franchise. I've played all of the games multiple times, and most of them I have had an absolutely fantastic time with. But unfortunately, this Halo TV series was just not it. They strayed away from the source material, they made changes to the characters, and overall, it was a very forgettable experience, but apparently, it is getting a second season. So the Halo on Paramount Plus Twitter account tweeted this. The Spartans have landed in Iceland. The Halo series season 2 starts production tomorrow. Now, we actually for months heard that this show, was kind of in the balance. They weren't really sure if they were going to go with another season or if they were going to leave it as a standalone, but apparently they've decided that they're going to do another season, and of course they are getting roasted on social media for it, but I really don't understand why they would do this besides they think it's going to make money eventually. They think it's going to get viewership eventually because this is a big franchise, don't get me wrong, and Paramount Plus doesn't really have any other video game content, so they probably wanted to hold on to this as long as they could. But if we go on over to things like Metacritic and Rotten Tomatoes, this show didn't get good ratings. I mean, it got a 69% average critic score over on Rotten Tomatoes, which is okay, but it's still not great. But the average audience score is a 52%, which is pretty terrible. And then, if we go on over to Metacritic, it's even worse, a 61% critic and a 4.7 audience score. These are not good ratings, and of course, I'm sure that a lot of people watched season 1 thinking, wow, you know what, I'm going to give it a chance, I love Halo, or hey, maybe this show looks decent if you're not an existing Halo fan. But then, once they've watched the whole season, they see how terrible it is. I don't think a lot of these viewers are going to show up to a second season, and this show didn't even get good viewership from what we understand with the first season because they did decide to put episodes for free onto YouTube. They were trying very heavily to promote this show on social media, getting the actors to come out and give questionable interviews talking about how, well, they wanted to subvert expectations and not follow the source material because this is their show and they can make the changes they want. All of these things aren't going to equal viewership going into another season. But if we go on over to this Twitter post again, it's got 25,000 likes. Of course, this account does have over 80,000 followers. But if you look at the comment section, it is filled with people just roasting the show. Over 800 likes on this post. Please send them back home. Literally no one wants this show. I canceled my Paramount subscription because this show was so bad. I was so disappointed with it because leading up to the release, I was looking forward to it. We were finally getting a Halo show. Maybe this one was going to be good. Maybe this was going to be what we needed in the year 2022 for good entertainment. And well, it came and it went and it wasn't good. What a shock. None of them have their helmets on. I think Season 2 Chief and company shouldn't even have them. I mean, yeah, in Season 1, they barely wore helmets. It made absolutely no freaking sense, but we don't even know what they're going to do with Master Chief now because basically, as I said at the beginning, spoiler alert, Master Chief is dead, but Cortana is in his suit of armor. So she's just kind of using his meat suit at this point, and we know that Kai, the human that was taken in by the Covenant, is probably going to be a main character. So we've got 2 female characters as leads, which is perfectly fine if it was a good story, if leading up to that it was good. But this version of Cortana's a little bit different. Kai is, of course, a brand new character, and we have no clue what they're doing with Master Chief at this point. Somebody said option 1, they listen to fan feedback and honor the original story, characters, and music to give the fan base the Halo we know it all can be. Or option 2, they double down, accuse the fan base of being toxic, and think they can write Halo better than the original writers. I bet they are going to go with option 2. I don't have any hope that they're going to actually start listening to consumers, but I think option 1 would be actually very hard to pull off at this point, because they would basically have to throw away the whole first season, and I don't think they're going to do that. They never really sounded like they cared about fan feedback and the original source material, and I doubt they're going to change directions at this point. And this was a major reason why people ended up hating this show. This is an article from May. Paramount massacres Master Chief in Halo, pulls a bait and switch bigger than Kevin Smith's He-Man. It says, opening with explorations into various intrapersonal character developments, the season's 9th and final episode, Transcendence, revolves around Chief leading a mission to the Covenant home world to retrieve the Forerunner artifact and subsequently put a stop to their military conquest. Faced with this dilemma and unable to make a decision, Chief then calmly tells his companion, "Then you do it," before rushing headfirst into the battlefield with complete abandon for his own safety, which of course is something Chief would have never done in the video games. "I may not be able to bring back your mind," a desperate Cortana warns to Chief, which replies, "I trust you," before receiving a death blow from the Brute's hammer. They decided this was the best thing they could do. They killed off Master Chief, which of course is freaking ridiculous. Lying on the ground after being hit, he closes his eyes, his HUD slowly beeping out of service before ceasing operation completely. Projecting an image of herself outside of Chief's armor to mourn the loss of her partner, she then proceeds to fulfill his dying wish, taking control of his armor and rebooting its systems. This was one of the many reasons why people didn't like this show. I mean, the fight scenes were not great, it visually wasn't great, the acting was pretty poor, but then they decided to do this at the end. If this wasn't the ending, you know what, I could see people giving a second season a chance, but there is no way that I want to give this second season a chance at this point with these terrible decisions that they've made. Ultimately, I think that, hey, they're going ahead with a second season. Maybe there's a few people out there who enjoyed the first and who will give the second season a chance, but I personally will not be. I have zero interest in the show. I gave it a fair chance. I watched the first season in its entirety, and unfortunately, it was Hollywood garbage. I don't know what they're planning to do with this second season, but only time will tell. But for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video and found it important and informative, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.